how's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Freddy's Nightmares. This is Season 1, Episode 3, and this one's entitled Killer Instinct. The episode originally aired October 23rd, 1988, getting pretty close to Halloween, and this one was directed by Mick Garris, who you may remember for doing a ton of Stephen King adaptations. Bag of Bones, the TV version of The Shining, The Stand. He did quite a few Stephen King stories. He's also the creator of Masters of Horror, so cool to see him around. This episode stars Lori Petty, who you guys may know as Tank Girl. Cool to see Tank Girl in this episode. We also have Yvettte Nipar, Kane, Picoy, and of course, Robert Englund as our host Freddy Krueger. Now, this episode is about two young track stars at Springwood High that encounter a magic wish-granting crystal. And you think, okay, this is going to be a be careful what you wish for style story. They're going to wish for things to get ahead, and then they'll learn, oh, these have unattended side effects, and I should earn things by hard work, right? You think that's what they would do. But no, the magic crystal is so misused in this episode. For real, the first girl doesn't even know what she's doing for pretty much her entire story, and it's all incidental and barely relates to her being a track star. The second girl is dealing with the ramifications of one of her wishes, but then for most of the episode just kind of forgets that she has a magic wish-granting crystal, so I honestly don't know. This episode really exemplifies something that I've seen in the past couple, and I kind of worry how it's going to play out for the rest of the show. But Nightmare on Elm Street had special effects and out there imagery, but that sort of stuff works best when it works within the story, and this episode is just kind of random little effects and sequences, and some of them are okay. Like, some of them have some gore behind them, that's always pretty fun, and there is like a oneer shot in the second episode that involves this mirror changing after a camera pan. Some of the gags are fun and some work, but I just wish this episode was more focused, you know? It just kind of seems like a random thing that happens to a track star, and then in the second one, a girl getting random visions and forgetting she literally has a magic crystal. Overall, the episode isn't terrible by any means. It's a fun, wacky enough little story, and it did keep my interest well enough. It's just a case of I wish they had done a little bit more planning and organization before they started this one, because it does feel a little unfocused. But in order to explain this further, let's take a bit of a deeper dive into this episode. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, and I'll try not to ruin anything, at least for the first segment. For the second segment, because they are interconnected, and by the way, I do like how this episode really did feel connected like one big episode, but that being said, I will have to talk about how the first one ends. When we talk about the second, I'll do a spoiler warning when we get there. But anyway, what happens in the first story? In the first story, we have Lori Petty, Tank Girl there, and she's running, and we find out that she's a track star. Her mom had been a track star before her, and her mom had recently passed away. She races against her rival, the rival taunts her a little bit, and then they're pretty much neck and neck until she gets a distracting vision of her mother and loses the race by mere inches. The coach talks to her later and says, "Your head's not in the game. I'm kicking you off the team." And that feels like an incredibly cruel and out of nowhere response. For real, the kid's mother just died. Don't punish her by kicking her off the team. And yeah, she is a little distracted, but she still seems to be your second best track star. Yeah, I mean, I think she still is doing okay. Well, the girl comes back later and begs to be let back on the team, and luckily for her, she is allowed. But then she's also given something, a magical crystal. It turns out her dead mother was friends with the coach back in their high school days, and this was her mother's sister's magic crystal, she would look into it and visualize herself winning the race, and then she would win the race. And this does mirror a real-world visualization technique where several successful people say they visualize themselves doing what they want to do, and then it's easier when you actually have to go and do it. But this is, of course, the magic twist on that. She, of course, looks into the crystal and winds up setting a record for the school. She runs incredibly fast. And you think that that's what the episode would be about. That it would be about her abusing the crystal to win, maybe crossing a few lines, maybe having unintended repercussions. You think it would focus on the racing, but no, it really doesn't. She's in school and just random things happen. There's a guy who's manning the deli slicer in the lunchroom who is being an incredibly crude creep to her, and she of course has a revenge fantasy that will come true. That's a pretty good effect. Later on there's a sequence with their history teacher where she has a revenge fantasy, but it does not turn into such a good effect. Yeah, the special effects in this show do not always land, and the history teacher sequence was not great. And I won't spoil it just yet, but how this episode ends is really just out of the blue. I mean, when they explain it, you're like, okay, I guess that could happen, but it's not anything based on the character's decisions, you know? Like, for real, all these accidental visions have been just by a mistake, and that really keeps the character from directly interacting with the plot and having the end be something that just randomly happens to her as well. Yeah, it doesn't turn out too great. And I'll try not to say what it is, but the effect here is also something they couldn't pull off on their low budget. But also, what really happened in real life? It's a little bit implausible. So yeah, the first one isn't that great, but the second one, I don't know, maybe it's a little better. Now, in order to talk about the second story, I do have to address the ending of the first, so if you haven't seen this episode and don't want it spoiled, now's the time to click off, and I'll give you a second. Okay, so at the end of the last episode, and by the way, the show does a recap, which is a little hilarious because the audience just been on a commercial break. It's not been a whole week. But at the end of the last episode, we found out that the other rival girl stole her crystal and had a visualization of her getting her head cut off by the ribbon at the end of the track? Yeah, that's kind of random in vision form. It's implausible. And then in real life, I guess she just fell down when she hit it? Yeah, I don't get that ending. That's super weird. But whatever, she stole the crystal and killed her rival. And how did she even know the crystal was magic? Did I miss something there? Whatever. And you think with the beginning of this story, oh no, the bad girl's got the crystal now. We're surely gonna be in for those wacky shenanigans, right? But no, it's just her dealing with grief because she killed her rival, and we don't even know if it's accidental or not. But for real, most of the special effects sequences in this second bit are just her seeing Lori Petty in zombie makeup, which it would have been cooler if she was in headless makeup, but that's too hard for the show. So she's a zombie and she just kind of pops up, and that happens again and again, and that's all the ending of the episode is mostly just the same scare over and over again. And also her character, like a redemption arc for a mean character could be fun, but they don't really seem to nail it. You know, she killed the other girl. Did she do that on purpose? I don't know. She seems torn up about that. Is it guilt or is it paranoia? We don't know. They make it like, oh, I was a rival with her on the track, but we weren't so bad off the track. That's not really what the last episode suggested. And then she also is trying to steal the dead girl's boyfriend, even though she already has a boyfriend. That doesn't make her look too good. And if she's trying to go after this guy, I wouldn't think that she really feels this guilt. I would love to see a redemption story or a story taking a non-hero's perspective, but this is just messy, and I really wish for both sides of the script that they had just taken a moment to ask themselves, does this make sense, or do we need to clean it up a little bit? Like I said, the episode's not terrible, but they really needed to clean it up a bit, and I won't spoil what happens at the end of the second story, but let's just say it's also a out of nowhere kind of disappointing ending, and you're really like, okay, that's it? So it's a story that sets up a be careful what you wish for style, doesn't really play into the over-the-top extremities of a wish. Like, for real, we could have got some really wacky sequences here, and it just gets lost. It's not the best thing ever, but it's not terrible either. It's okay. It's cool to see Lori Petty and Mick Garris in this. I just wish that it came out to be a better final product. All that being said though, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more videos like this, you can click right here and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Playlist here. Have a good day now.